listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good, host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Get on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no two human beings I'd rather be talking to about the great game of baseball, maybe anything on the planet, than Adam Ottavino and Julian McWilliams. The big three are back. One has a new child. Congratulations, Julian.
Thanks.
I mean, Adam, I don't think you have a new child, but if you do, congratulations to you. No.
No.
All right. And Adam, how are you?
Ooh. I'm good. I'm doing good. We were just talking, getting ready for the Knicks to close this series out and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm doing good.
Wow. By the time this drops,
great.
we'll know. We'll know if there's panic in the streets. At what's the name of the street? What's the street that MSG's on? What is it?
7th Avenue.
7th Avenue.
7th. Yeah. Whether there's going to be a parade, where they're going to have to grease the poles or not. So we'll find out. The time-honored tradition. Adam, what's going on with you? What's happening? Anything you throwing? What's happening?
I'm not throwing, but nothing's happening. No, I'm just I'm doing this. I'm doing as much stuff as I can, talking to as many people as I can, trying to figure out my next steps. Not closing the door on anything, but opening the doors to some new things at the same time. So
you're doing an expert job of opening those doors because, as I told you before, you're good at this. You've also did some you've been doing TV too, right? Right, correct? Little TV.
Yeah, a little TV. Have a little bit more of that coming up. So just taking advantage of whatever opportunities I get right now.
All right. Do you use makeup?
I really don't like to. I know people recommend me to, and I have in the past, but lately I've been trying to go without it. I'm okay with the way I look, even if it's subpar. It's all right.
Julian, you're a TV guy. You go with makeup. Did CBS, now that you work for an enormous network, do they say, Julian, we love you, we like you personally, but you really got to put on some makeup?
Here, they recommended it.
Did they?
Recommended it. Yeah, that's why I was up in Sephora. They're like, you don't have to get anything, too, whatever. Just go in Sephora. They'll help you out. So I walked in. I was like, look, ladies, I don't know what I'm doing. Help me out. And so they gave me some stuff. I think I might even have it.
Really?
I think I might even have it right here. Hold on.
I learned the world of makeup last year when I smashed my face in the ground in Colorado.
Ooh.
and had to do TV like a week later. It was a miracle. It was unbelievable. Ooh,
makeup forever. There we go.
Put some of that on.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do this.
Oh, look! Oh my goodness! Look at that! Oh, look at this!
Never looked better.
What a transformation! Oh my god!
It's amazing, isn't it, Adam? It's like one person was sitting there 1 minute, and then the next time, who is this person? He's 20 years younger. It's crazy. Oh well. All right. There's some stuff that we can talk about. But one thing I want to talk about, which has nothing to do with anything's going on, but it was raised. I think Michael Kay went on a rant about a week ago, and I wanted to get Adam's perspective of this about running in from the bullpen for fights. So it's remember, because this stemmed off of the big Pablo Reyes Heston Kjerstad brouhaha, which was nothing, but you had the relievers running in for they run in and then they run back. And before you go, Adam, I will say this: I thought that I asked Greg Weissert about this, and I thought he had a very good point. There are some bullpens where it's just like the stairs. Like by the time you get down the stairs, like what are we doing? Like the Philadelphia, Baltimore, Toronto, So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I must say, as I got further into my career, most of the time that we would clear the benches, I would kind of groan a little bit, like I know this isn't going to be anything. But you're in a little bit of a spot where, if you don't go to the scrum, then your teammates are like maybe thinking you don't have their back. So I'd usually pull up the rear a little bit. I remember a couple times I was like in the middle of my mid-game snack, so I'd have like a banana in my hand or like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something. Kind of, kind of not really useful if you're going into a fight, but um, I agree it's a little weird. But at the same time, you do have to kind of show your teammates that that you're in it with them no matter what, and sometimes it's like your wife, like even if she's wrong, you have to defend her in public, So I've been in situations like that where I'm like, well, this is kind of a silly, stupid reason to clear the benches, but I have to go out there and show face anyway. And then there have been the other times where you're like actively like, oh, like this needs to go down, and then you're like excited. But those are few and far in between.
Sometimes there's always one guy who is like, let's go. This is my chance to like throw fists, right? Have you ever had that guy?
They're usually, yeah. I mean, people tend to sometimes boil over. It's an emotional game. There's some people. There's been some times where I've had some teammates that are like a little bloodthirsty out there, ready to get it on. But I mean, for the most part, anytime you throw a punch, you're gonna have to miss a few games and probably pay a hefty fine. So tensions would have to variance. I've only seen maybe 2 bench clearings in my whole career where actual blows were thrown.
Have you ever had I should know this, but has anyone ever charged the mound on you?
No, never. I always thought about it. I dreamed about it. In a way, I wanted it to happen, just to have it happen. Provided it was a player that I thought, I could handle. I remember I used to pitch Yasiel Puig inside quite a bit, and I used to worry that I would hit him, he would get the wrong idea and come out there and kill me. So yeah, it depends on the opponent, but part of me did actually want to, have it happen just as a bucket list kind of thing.
No, I tell you this, the Adam that I'll be afraid of the most is the 2021 Adam when COVID was going down in Tampa. He was pissed. He was so pissed that day. I was like, Adam, I have a question. He's like, nah, not right now. I'm like, whoa. He's like, it's not you. We just got a lot of shit going on right now. And I just kept walking. I was like, oh, okay. So if it's that Adam,
Yeah.
I don't think Yasiel Puig would want him with you, man. You wouldn't want the smoke.
Nah. That whole year I was pitching with a little bit of anger. So we had COVID. I got traded. A whole bunch of stuff happened that year. But that's probably the only time in my career I was like trying to bring it on. But other than that, I'm a lover. I'm not a fighter.
I remember the reliever, Brendan Donnelly. Remember him?
Yeah. Angels.
Yeah, I remember he literally came out. He said this on the record. I came back to pitch so that I could hit this one guy. And I can't for the life of remember who it was. But like I came back to pitch so I could hit that one guy one time. So yeah. Julie, you must have charged him on when you played, right?
Oh, dude, I got suspended in high school for it.
You did?
I didn't even do anything. All I did was like I ran to the mound, and this these PSAL umpires, they don't know their fucking right foot from the left one. And he's like, you, and you're suspended. And I mean, you're ejected. And I was like, all I did was just run to the mound where my pitcher was, who threw a ball at a guy. And then it was the 2 last games of the season, and we lost those 2 last games that I was suspended. And we ended up being like a 6 seed instead of a 3 seed. Got bumped in the first round of the playoffs by DeWitt Clinton. So, it is.
Sorry, I bring up bad memories. I apologize. That's my bad.
Yeah.
Look, I'm here to build up, not tear down. All right. So one of the topics that Julie and I have been talking about on the phone is what is a topic that really has been going on throughout baseball. Forget about just in Boston. It's the Devers thing. I've had on the last 2 podcasts, Adam, I've had on Scott Hatterberg, who is the face of it's incredibly difficult to play first base, right? Moneyball guy.
Yeah.
And I had on Mike Lowell, who has a lot of different perspectives of this, including, by the way, which I didn't even think about until I started talking about it. Him and Cora were the guys that sort of had to manage Manny Ramirez in 2008. So like they're the ones that like they were his sounding board. And so that's where I think Cora sort of got, cut his teeth when it came to being able to manage guys and play both sides of it and understand that, you're trying to make everybody one big happy family. But I know where Julian stands on this, but I want to hear where you stand on it when you first heard about what Rafi said, before they left town last Thursday.
I mean, I talked about this a little bit on Trevor May's show 2 days ago. I feel like it's just been a little bit of a communication breakdown. And I don't blame Rafi for being offended a little bit, mainly just because he's been getting mixed signals. Like, I mean, it seems like Alex is publicly, basically saying he wants him to DH, even from the beginning. Told him basically don't practice fielding anymore, don't bring your glove anymore. And now they want him to go play first. And I think it goes a little deeper than that. I mean, he worked a really long time at third base to try to improve. Obviously, the results weren't great, but I mean, they put a lot of work into that, a lot of sweat equity into that process. So I think for him to give up on that initially, I think hurt him a little bit because he's like, we've been working on this so long. I think ultimately, maybe Big Papi talked to him, smoothed it over. I think he realized, okay, this is for the better of the team. I'll get over it. I'll hit. I'm getting paid. We're all good. And I think now, I don't think if he could do it again, I don't think he would speak publicly the same way he did. But I think a lot of it is just there's obviously a little bit of a lack of rapport between Craig Breslow and Rafael Devers. It seems to me like Alex is a little bit caught in the middle, and those two guys need to get more on the same page. And I guess they're not, and that's why this kind of thing has happened.
Yeah, I there's a lot to pick through, but I think it's two different conversations. I think it's how the Red Sox screwed up, which you sort of touched on, and Adam, you know this, and Julian, you know this too, is that when you introduce disrespect, like if someone feels disrespected a lot of times, especially guys where make a lot of money, like, oh, well, because let's be honest, and I think Mike Lowell said this, if Rafael Devers is coming up, being called up, and they say, hey, we want you to play shortstop, he's going to play shortstop. Like there's this perception of being disrespected. So that's part of it. But one thing that I want to sort of get your perspective of it, Adam, is in my world in baseball, which is obviously the most important world, when it always been, oh, well, if you're needed at another place to play somewhere else, as long as it's not going to impact your contract or your future, you say, I'll do whatever it takes. Am I being too simplistic with that?
No, and I do think that's where it'll end up. I'd be surprised if he didn't start taking grounders at first relatively soon and give it a go here, if that's what's deemed best for the team. I agree with you. I mean, it's not going to affect his contract. His contract's set. His future is all lined up. There's really nothing at stake for him personally here. And if you're gonna have to look bad somewhere, it's nice to have that part of it already squared away. Sometimes I think about in my career how there were some times where maybe I was on the other side of it. I was a little too giving. Like, oh no, I don't need to be the closer. Oh no, I don't need to pitch in this spot. Oh no, I don't need to do that. I'm just here for the team, whatever you want. And, maybe that did affect, me in a personal way later, some of those decisions for the worse. But the situation's different. Like, he's already all taken care of. He's already paid. He's already the franchise player. I do think he'll come around and play a little first base. Now, I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I just think in the moment, tensions were a little bit high. I think he's like, oh, now you want me to use my glove? I think that was kind of like the attitude a little bit.
Let's be honest. It was. This is the way I look at it, guys, is that he tried to piss on his territory when it came to the initial press conference, the no press conference. Everyone's like, well, we like your press conference, but that's never going to happen. You can't just say no. You're not retiring. So I thought that like this was his other opportunity to piss on his territory. Like that's how I viewed it anyway. So
But
yeah.
what was the Adam? What was the when he initially came out and said, "I play third. I'm not moving off that position." Like, was there any sort of tension in the clubhouse beyond that, or was it just like, it's just just what he feels?
I noticed. Yeah, I mean, I noticed that Rafi was just a little bit withdrawn from the group a little bit early in camp. Like, I mean, he was like getting himself in better physical condition and he hadn't been playing, but he definitely seemed a little pulled back from the group. I don't know. It's an interesting situation. Like, he's kind of the last man standing from like when he got up to the team and when they won the World Series. He's one of the last people here, and I feel like again, like he put in a lot of work over those years. He's taken a lot of heat for his play at third base over the years. And I felt like he had accepted that challenge. So from my perspective, I think he was a little reluctant to let go of that job initially because he's like, I've been working so hard at this and you're telling me you just want me to quit now and you just want me to pack it up and just DH. Like I can still play third. I've been working hard at this. Everybody's been getting on me to work hard at this over the years. I mean, I get it a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, the first press conference, it definitely raises eyebrows. You're a little bit like, oh, like you're just going to be defiant like that. It's not really a great look if you're trying to be the leader of the team. And then I just think that it's really comes down to the communication between him and Craig. Obviously promises were made when Heim was here. But now it's a different management in town, and it's really up to them to create a relationship where these types of things don't happen because it's just a distraction to the team. And I bet the rest of the guys on the team, they love Rafi, but they're just like, we don't want to deal with this. We just want to play some ball.
You know what's sort of baffling to me, and I hear you. Like I hear like tensions are running high. I do think that this was the opportunity to piss on his territory, whatever it was. But if you take a step back and you get past the lack of respect thing, which I said this before, and Julian, you've seen this, and Adam, you've seen this. I go back to Pedro. I go back to Ortiz. There was a lot of common sense stuff where it was overtaken by perceived lack of respect, right? Like I remember Ortiz barged it in to look for his RBI in the middle of Terry Francona's post-game press conference. Like, where's my RBI? He was like furious. And it's okay. And I love David. Like, it's okay. So you get past that. I just look at it as Casas is like gravy now. Like, we don't know what's going to happen with the Casas, certainly at this time next year. But for Rafi, this is your opportunity to actually get back in the field as a fielder. It is your opportunity to take the Vlad Guerrero avenue, which led to really good things for Vlad. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think his concern is a little bit like it's not going to be easy and I might look bad doing this. And I think there's a little bit of concern of just like making the switch on the fly. As you said, playing first base is incredibly hard. I think having never been over there, I think there's a little bit of concern with that. So it could just be a little bit of worry on his part about ability to get the job done there. I mean, I don't know. But listen, like, would I handle it that way? Definitely not. But at the same time, guys are like super competitive that play in this league. And sometimes you just find something that ticks you off and you just say, I'm just going to take a stand. And really don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know why you're doing it. You wake up a week later and you're like, what am I doing? Like, give me the glove, And we might end up in that spot. We just have to let it play out.
Yeah. Well, Julian, like you're looking at it. Again, we've talked a lot about this, and this is an easy one. This is a straight ball right down the middle to talk about. But ultimately, it's when it comes to the Red Sox, like, can the Red Sox win if Rafael Devers never plays first base? Probably. Is it their best team right now, unless they're going to adjust some other things? No. So this Red Sox team, it sort of speaks to, I want to talk to you guys about the entirety of Major League Baseball, how you get to the middle of May, now you're starting to identify yourself and separate yourself. And the Red Sox seemingly are treading water a little bit. And I feel like you need, and Adam, you can speak to this, sometimes you need the jumper cable, sometimes you need the slight adjustment, and maybe the Devers switch is something. But Julian, isn't that how this feels? Like, other teams feel like they're ready to go. Like, maybe like We see winning streaks all over the place. You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And me and you talked about it, Rob, how look, they were going through all this, and oh, by the way, like you have to play the Tigers. Like you have to play, I know they beat the Royals, but you have to play the Royals. And then you're coming back and you're getting an Atlanta team, on Friday that's, has Chris Sale going on Friday. And I know they haven't played well to this point, but they've been playing a little bit better. And obviously, they're in a position where I believe they'll make the playoffs. So all this stuff is going on and you're having to compete on the field. And like you mentioned, Rob, like they brought in Bregman to sort of be the adult in the room, and he can't even really flex his muscles in that sense because the situation has to do with him. So there's a lot going on in that sense. And I tell you what, I think to a degree, the Red Sox have sort of enabled this, right? And just from how they've tiptoed around Rafi after, and this is all following when Adam was there, about when he could talk to the media, all these different, like, what he says. And, it just seems like everything has to be comfortable for Rafi, for Rafi, for the team to be in a good place. And I don't think that's any way you should run the organization. I'm with Adam. I think ultimately he does end up playing first base because I don't know how you can look out there. And this might just be me personally speaking, but I don't know how you can look out there and you see Abraham Toro out there and who's a 4A guy at, probably at best. And he's struggling at the position and he's embarrassing himself. Nick Sogard doesn't necessarily play it that much. Romy Gonzalez, before he went on the IL, God bless him, but he can't stretch, right? He can't stretch to get the ball. So, and he's probably better up the middle. So it would get to a point for me where I would take offense, like my pride would get in the way, and I would ultimately have to be there because I just don't think it could work.
Well, it's rubber meet the road time, right? I mean, like Adam, you go back to last year when you were with the Mets. When did you guys take off? Because when did you guys start winning?
Early June.
Right.
June. We were bad all the way through May. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Listen, I think a lot of this comes down to the adults in the room. Like you said, I know Bregman was brought in to be one of those, and it's a little bit of a situation because it's involving him. But the other leaders of this team, Trevor Story, Duran's probably earned himself some leadership now. So some of these guys are going to have to kind of come together and police this themselves and kind of figure out, a path forward because there's plenty of time to right the ship right now. Things have been, like you said, they've been treading water. Hasn't been smooth sailing, but there's a lot riding on this season for this group. You could feel that from day one in spring training. A lot of expectation internally, and this is a moment where they have to choose what direction they want to go in. But really, it's up to the 26 guys. I mean, we could talk about management, all that, but the 26 guys are the ones out there, and I think those are the ones that can probably get to Rafi's heart the best.
So how did it turn for you guys last year? Like
exactly that way. It was the 26 guys in the room. We got our butts kicked by the Dodgers kind of to finish May and to begin June. Our season was really, really putrid to that point. And we had a meeting, and lucky for us, we had a lot of guys who were ready to step up and talk in the meeting and kind of chart a new path forward. We realized we needed to come together. We realized we needed a little bit more of a sense of urgency. We weren't having any fun at the field. There was a number of elements that went into it. But really, it was therapeutic. It was cleansing. And when we took the field early June, I believe the next series, like maybe June 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that, we just started incrementally to play better baseball. And then we let that snowball get rolling in the good direction, right? Next thing you know, it's July and we crept back to 500. And then, you can make a move on the division from there, which we didn't win, but we got into that wild card contention and we were able to hang on.
Team meetings are tricky, man. Team meetings are tricky because, if you have a team meeting and if you lose, you can't have another team meeting. Am I wrong?
I mean, I don't think that you should make team meetings a habit, but I think they can be influential in the right moment with the right group. Like I said, we were fortunate to have the right mix of guys in the clubhouse to make it happen. There were some really wise words said by Lindor, JD Martinez, believe it or not, really dropped some good nuggets. Sean Manaea was another one. And I really liked what Sean did because Sean was coming from a place of, we need to be more together. We need to have more fun. We need a thing. We need to we need to gel as a group of guys. There's no help coming for us. And I think that message really resonated, and guys started taking that to heart. We went on the road, and guys were hanging out more together. And I know it sounds simple, but those things really did start to add up and bring a better feeling as we were coming to the clubhouse every day. And if you feel good, then you start to play good. And I think it's just a chain of events that, in that case, really, really helped. Now, like I said, every season's different. Every group of guys is different. But if you're fortunate enough to have some real adults in the room, some people with perspective, sometimes a team meeting does make a difference.
Julie, you covered Minaya, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. He was always kind of the. I think he's kind of grown into that. And when I was covered him in Oakland, he was sort of this, I wouldn't say shy, but quirky, but like still sort of unsure, kind of insecure about where he stood in baseball. Kind of, he's in his head a little bit more. Like when I saw him last year, I was like, whoa, like this seems to be a completely different guy than what I covered. But it just goes to show like the growth. I mean, he's always been a vibes guy, though. I mean, that's just him. He sort of lives in his own world, and I don't think he can pitch well if he's like angry, so to speak. Right? I could be wrong, but like he just seems to be more of like a joyous kind of goofy guy, and I think that works for him. And teams need that. I don't necessarily know if the Red Sox have that. We look at we talk to the people that are out there in Detroit and Kansas City. They're saying like, look, this clubhouse, like it's very, very, it's a tight clubhouse right now. Like it's very, very rigid in terms of the way they're on edge, everything. So I'm not sure if they have that guy. I think they've tried to get the adult in the room and Bregman, and it's like he kind of has his hands tied in that right now. Like it's like, what do you do? Because he's still like the new guy.
The Red Sox have a bunch of new guys, like Crochet's a new guy, Giolito's basically a new guy. Hendricks hasn't been playing, so he's sort of a new guy. Chapman's a new guy.
Bueller.
Like there's a lot of the best players are kind of new, Bregman. So it's like you're trying to create that identity. That can be difficult.
Well, and also it's one thing to be a new guy. It's also another thing when you're on a short-term deal. I mean, let's be honest, and it's two different things, right? I remember a player saying, well, how am I supposed to speak up in the room when I'm hitting 200? There was that. I remember Mike Napoli saying that back in the day. And then there's guys who come in and that they know the right way to do it, but they might be there for, they might have a 1-year contract or they might be there for a short, I don't know. Like, I mean, Adam, you would have a better perspective of that than I would. So.
Yeah, that's tough. That's so true. And that's tough because it's like, I can think, back to my career, right? I was with Colorado for 7 seasons. And during that time, you fall in love with what your team is doing. Like over the time, you're so invested because you're there year in, year out. And, really like you're willing to do anything to help that team win, that group win, because you've seen it come from a bad team into a good team. And, you're kind of a part of that whole process. Then you go to a new team and you want to buy in the same way, but you're not there as long. And so, sometimes it can be tough to kind of completely fall head over heels for the group that you're with right away and feel like you have the equity in the room to stand in the middle and say some things. So I think there's truth to that. Bregman's a noted excellent leader, and I think he's making a big difference for this team. But yeah, he might only be there 1 year, so I'm sure it's not quite the same as he felt after all the years he was in Houston.
But another part of this too is that you can't get on a stool in the middle of the room and be like, I'm the leader, right? You can't. Like, I'll give you the example. A guy who had a tremendous impact over a 2.5 months, Kyle Schwarber, right? When he got dropped in, and I would imagine that Kyle Schwarber feels like he can enact, now that once he signed that deal with the Phillies, can enact his will and his leadership a whole lot more than he did in those 2.5 months when he was traded at the trade deadline in 2021. So anyway.
Adam, just curious, like if you're Nah, if you're Bregman, right, and you're because me and Rob have talked about this. He has an opt out after this year. He's playing. He's just typically a guy that gets off to bad starts. Like we've known that throughout his career. Like he's a slow starter, but now he's off to this like torrid start. Do you think sort of guys like that who come into a situation, they have opt outs and they're playing well, and there's drama in the clubhouse right now. There's stuff going on. Do you think they look at him like, you know what? Like, do I want to be here?
I think he's evaluating it throughout the whole year. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think the Red Sox is such a great franchise, and generally a place where people like to be. When I was there, I thought they did a great job on a lot of levels. Um, so I think he's looking for a more permanent home. Nobody wants to jump around every single year. So, but he's getting a full peek under the hood at what the Red Sox are all about. And at the end of this year, the experience he has this year is going to be a big deal, whether he wants to stick around or not. I think, initially you go in with hopes very high, but just got to see how this one plays out. There has been a little bit of early turmoil here. I mean, then again, he is kind of used to that, right? I mean, he's been through quite a bit in his
Yes.
career, so we'll see. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, shoot, you're evaluating it at all times.
All right. So, guys, last thing is I want to get your perspective of I want you to pick a team who is good that you're like, I did not see this coming, and a team that is bad that you say, I did not see this coming. So one each. So who wants to go first? Julian, you go first.
I'll tell you what, I didn't have on my deck of cards the Cardinals winning 9 games in a row. I mean, that's something I don't think they'll be good, but I think this is promising toward their future. So that's my team.
All right. And how about a team that is bad that you didn't think would be bad?
The, the Red Sox.
All right. Okay. Fair.
But I mean, right? I mean, look, I mean, no, look, I'll say this. I didn't think, to add on to my Cardinals part, I didn't think Detroit would be this good this soon. I didn't think that they would be a team that would uh, be the best team in the American League right now. I didn't think that Spencer Torkelson would finally seem like he would figure it out. I thought Javi Baez was just was cooked.
Yeah.
I didn't think he had anything left. We've seen him play the last 3 years. It hasn't been good. But that just goes to show the manager that AJ Hinch is. And then again, it's the Cardinals. I just can't fathom them winning 9 games in a row. When the same team that I saw come to Fenway a few weeks ago.
Well, as we tape this, also, I want to make note that science has once again prevailed, where I gave Rocco Baldelli a baseballs and boring sticker, and they won 8 in a row since.
They did
So,
win 8 in a row. Their pitching is lights out, though.
yeah, I think it's more about the sticker than the pitching. Anyway, Adam, how about you?
Well, I guess the team I didn't expect to be bad is the Braves. I thought they were going to win the division, or be fighting with the Mets and the Phillies. Start I expected. What were they, like 0-8 to begin the year?
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I've been playing in the NL East, they've been the scariest team. So I was surprised that they got off to the start they've gotten off to. A team that's doing well that I'm a little surprised. I guess maybe the Giants. I knew that they were going to be a little better, but they've been pretty good. They've been pretty solid. That whole NL West, minus the Rockies, have been really, really solid. Giants have gotten some good performances from younger players, and they're doing it even without Adames really clicking. So I've been impressed by the Giants so far.
Speaking of the Rockies, Adam, what was your take on Bud Black getting let go?
Yeah. Well, I wondered when it was going to happen just because, it just felt like the tide wasn't going to get turned anytime soon. And usually the manager's kind of on the chopping block in that situation. Not that I think it's his fault. He hasn't had a lot to work with, probably since 2019, 2020. So it's been tough. They've been a tough watch. It's sad. I love the Rockies. That's a place, very, near and dear to my heart. When the Rockies are good, it's actually quite magical. But yeah, they're in a tough spot. I mean, I think they have 7 wins. They're on pace to be the worst team of all time. It's just it's a interesting sort of depressing feeling for them because they still get good crowds.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like they feel it the same way as like if this was in New York and nobody starts showing up to the ballpark. They're still getting good crowds, so it generally feels like the same and almost like it doesn't matter. But they've had some bad luck. I mean, Chris Bryant just hasn't been able to stay on the field. A lot of their pitchers got hurt that they were counting on the last few years, and they just haven't been able to get it going. But I feel for Buddy. I feel for Buddy a little bit, just because he really just didn't have a lot to work with. But I'm curious to see what they do going forward. Hopefully, they can get themselves back on track, next couple of years.
All right. Anything else you guys want to rant about? Julian, nothing.
Just my mother-in-law. That'll be it. But no, I can't do that. I don't want my wife hitting on the podcast.
Yeah, she listens all the time.
She listens. She listens every day.
How come when your baby was born? By the way, I told you this before. What a great name for your son! Like great name. I don't say that all.
Yeah.
I don't throw around those compliments lightly. Mays. What's the middle name? Mays.
Lennox, after Lennox Avenue in Harlem. That's where my wife lived. So we named him Mays Lennox McWilliams.
What a solid name. Good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
How you
Thanks.
did how you didn't have your wife holding up a baseballs and boring sticker after childbirth happened?
Oh man, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
She's getting stitched up.
All right. Well, I appreciate both of you. Thank you. I think we solved a lot of the world's problems once again. So thanks, guys.